Our next panelist, executive produces Supernatural and directs episodes of the series. Formerly vice president of NBC Drama Development, he later teamed with Daniel Blatt to produce films and TV series including V, The Final Battle, and Stephen King's Cujo. On his own, he has executive produced Midnight Caller, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, and Reasonable Doubts, which he also created. Please welcome Robert Singer. Our final panelist today is the creator of Supernatural, in addition to executive producing and writing for the series. His previous TV credits include the WB series Tarzan. He also wrote and co-produced the feature film Boogeyman. Please welcome Eric Kripke. Okay, I'll start with a few questions before we open it to you guys. Eric, the first one would be for you. I'm just kind of curious how this the idea for this series, the genesis of it, and how it evolved from concept to what we see on the screen.
For a really long time, I wanted to do a show about American folklore and urban legends, sort of kind of a subject that, even back to elementary school, I've been, kind of obsessed with. As a matter of fact, my very first TV pitch when I first started in town, when I was 23, 24, was an urban legend show. And I kept trying different versions of it and kept getting smacked down. I tried to do it as an anthology, and then I had this idea of like a bunch of reporters in a van, like Scooby-Doo style. All these sort of terrible ideas, and then I was working with Warner Brothers and had just come off of Tarzan, and and they said, what show would you want to do? And I said, well, an urban legend show. And they said, well, what's the concept? And I had this really long, elaborate storyline that I'd spent weeks and weeks on about a reporter, and it was almost exactly Night Stalker, which is hilarious. And they kind of looked at me and they were like, nah. They're like, any other, what else? And I said, well, because I literally scribbled it in my notebook the day before, which was, I said, well, it could be like Route 66, like two guys on a road trip. And they're like, we love that, do that. And so it just kind of came out of nowhere and just sort of developed from there. And it turned out to be just the right, the right way into this show, because they can just drive it. The boys can just drive in and out of a different horror movie every week. So,
did you at that point know, in terms of characters, who those two guys were? I mean, how did this whole family element, which is so important to the show? I mean, even Jared says to the girl in this episode, "I've got to go back because it's my family." How did that whole family aspect?
Just you write what you know, and I'm from a very close-knit family, and I have a big brother, and I have a lot of really great friends, and just sort of the way guys talk and the way they communicate without ever really communicating anything, and so it just kind of grew out of that, and so I knew I wanted to do in terms of the characters, I knew I wanted the little brother to be conflicted and have a lot of the angst and problems, which I threw right to Jared, and I wanted a big brother just be a total smartass. I mean, that's how I started, and so and it's with a show like this that's with the genre and it's sort of out there, it really needs like a grounding influence, and to ground the show into family and elements of family, and that the care that these brothers have for each other really helps us, because these two guys.
Big hug.
Just poured him a glass of water. Poured him a glass of water.
Yeah, because these two guys, I mean, the relationship they have. I mean, sometimes we have good subject matter, and sometimes, we don't. But the relationship of the brothers, these two actors always sees us through. So,
were you familiar with their work, or did you just bring in a ton of actors to audition for the roles?
We auditioned everybody in town, as you always do, kind of on these pilots. My wife was quite the Gilmore Girls fan, so I knew. I knew Jared's work, and Jensen, our director, David Nutter, who directed the pilot, knew Jensen from was it Dark Angel? Probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he knew him from Dark Angel, and so Dark Angel, Jensen and Dark Angel, woo! Come on! And so when we were casting the characters, it was David Nutter who said, we have to fly down Jensen, who was up shooting Smallville at the time, so he wasn't really in the pilot pool, and thank God we did, because he walked. Actually, the story, which was funny, is Jensen walked in the room and met with us, and David and Peter Johnson and I, and we talked to him, and we walked out the door, and we looked at each other, and we were so excited, and we were like, we found him, we found Sam.
I didn't get flown down. I drive myself.
Yeah.
So I just wanted that to be known.
And so these things just kind of form as puzzle pieces come together. And it wasn't until we met Jared that we were like, well, that's Sam. And we're like, and then Jensen could be Dean. And then it all just kind of it all kind of came together from there.
That's real interesting. Well, how about you guys, Jared and Jensen? Can you tell us?
I'll let Jensen take that
from your.
You go ahead.
Oh, Jensen, that's totally you. What was
honestly?
What's the exact question?
The question is.
Spelling bee?
Can you use the word in a sentence?
Use that in a sentence.
Leper?
Leopard.
No. The question was, can you talk about the audition process from your perspective?
Well, it's interesting, actually, for me, hearing it from Eric's perspective. I had obviously been working with Warner Brothers for Gilmore Girls, and the 5 years prior to doing the show, I'd worked on Gilmore Girls and sort of developed a relationship with some of the people at the Warner Brothers offices, and had kind of heard about a few of the pilots coming out, and I read this one in particular, and I really enjoyed the characters, and it really struck me as something that I remembered hearing sort of a one-sentence breakdown of like, it's kind of Supernatural, it's called Supernatural. And I was thinking like, great, Charmed or Buffy, which are all great shows, but not the show I wanted to be a part of. I didn't want to do Roswell or Charmed or Buffy. And then when I read it, I was like, wow, this is very interesting, and so much more than just like a scary show. So
what appealed to you about it?
Well, I grew up son of an English teacher, so she was always big, and she actually taught heroes, myths, and legends, so I was familiar with the mythology and sort of the Joseph Campbell teachings of Joseph Campbell. And
Didn't rub off that she was an English.
Didn't rub off. Yeah, it didn't. I just worked till 4:30 this morning in Vancouver, so I'm a little
interesting that you mentioned
worse for
Joseph
wear.
Campbell, because there's a little bit of the reluctant hero.
Very much. I mean, there's so much more than just the reluctant hero. I mean, when you get into the archetypes, there's sort of, each script is just bursting at the seams with archetypes, and last thing I think these people want to hear is me go into an explanation of. I love the script. I love the character. We're doing a answer.
I'm awake.
Okay.
So your agent sent you the script, and you were auditioning for Sam all along.
Right. I guess where the process, or how the process, where it wasn't to reach me, was read the script, see if you like the character, see if you like the script. It was sort of like, do you mesh with this? Do you feel that you can mesh with this script? And I felt I could, and so I went in and I met some of the guys, and I re-met Nutter, and sat in an office with, who was it? Kripke, was it?
It was me, Nutter, Peter Johnson. We were at the Wonderland offices, and and he came in. He had such energy and just so lived the character, just so was the guy. It's a cliche to say that, but he really was. So it was an easy choice.
And did you feel real good